Hi, my name is John, and I'm here to share with you my theory of what happened that day at the poison picnic. The first thing I did was try to eliminate what it could not be by looking at all the information on the menu and the bacteria information sheet. We know the picnic started at 6 o'clock, and everyone who got sick and died got sick that day. Campylobacter takes 2 to 5 days, E. coli takes 2 to 8 days, and Salmonella usually takes 12 to 72 hours to appear, so it couldn't have been any of these bacteria. We also know that Staphylococcus aureus multiplies rapidly at room temperature, but everybody was outside. And besides, it's found in 25% of most healthy people, so that probably wasn't it either. Listeria was found in lunch meats, cold cuts, smoked seafood, and salads, none of which were served at this picnic. That only left Clostridium perfringens and Clostridium botulinum, both of which can occur as quickly as 6 hours. Perfringens comes from meat products and gravy, but there was no gravy served, and we knew from the information received that the burgers were all cooked to well done, which would have killed any bacteria. We also know that botulinum comes from improperly canned foods, and a few foods on the menu were made from canned foods, such as the green bean casserole and the tuna casserole. Lastly, we compared the symptoms of the bacteria to the symptoms of those who got sick and died. While many people got sick and had cramps, vomiting, and diarrhea, a few people had other symptoms such as disorientation, slurred speech, muscle weakness, and paralysis. From the medical information cards and the autopsy reports, we know that Mr. Drake had paralysis of the extremities, and Miss Cummings suffered paralysis and was unable to communicate. There's only one bacteria that can cause those symptoms and death, and that bacteria was Clostridium botulinum, usually coming from improperly canned foods. Symptoms can appear in as few as 6 hours, or maybe even taking as long as 10 days. Some of the symptoms, if untreated, can lead to paralysis and even death. So now that I determined what the bacteria was, how did it happen? How did all these people get sick and die? Well, the first thing we know is Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Johnston both arrived at 5:30 to start to set up. The picnic was going to begin at 6 o'clock. Mr. Albert was next to arrive to set up the grill that he brought from home, although he had to take a few minutes to clean it because it hadn't been used since last summer. Mr. Drake arrived next from the supermarket where he had just picked up the hamburgers, and after the charcoal was hot, he began to cook. At 5:55, Mrs. Smith realized that she only brought one serving spoon, so she went home to get more, returning about 30 minutes later, which would put the time at 6:25. Here's where I think the problem is. The other teachers waited for a while, but they were so hungry that they decided to start eating at 6:20 before Mrs. Smith returned with the additional serving spoons. Mr. Drake was first through the line, and he ate the green bean casserole, ham, and a hamburger. Mrs. Cummings was next. Because there was only one serving spoon, she put it into the potato salad to help herself to some of that, and also had ham and a hamburger. Next came Mr. Carlson, who took the spoon out of the potato salad and put it back into the green bean casserole, and then put it back into the potato salad. He was followed by Mrs. Albert, who had some potato salad as well. Now at 6:25, Mrs. Smith finally returns with additional serving spoons, but the damage has been done. When Mrs. Cummings, who was second in line, took the spoon out of the contaminated green bean casserole and put it into the potato salad, she now cross-contaminated the potato salad with the botulism. Mr. Carlson and Mrs. Albert also did the same thing. And there you have it. The bacteria was Clostridium botulinum. The infected food was the green bean casserole, cross-contaminating the potato salad.